Hi YouTubers, my name is Megan. I'm also known as the Butterfly Lady to the students that I see quite often. But of course, unfortunately, with all this sickness going around, the COVID-19, we're not on lockdown over here per se, but they of course suggested we stay in our homes. So I'm not in, the greatest attire. My hair looks crazy, but that's totally okay. But today I really want to go over the Monarch butterfly, and the reason is because, and I've also had requests from some of my students to make a YouTube channel about this. So I'm just going to use my current one, and I'm going to continue to make videos as best as I can pertaining to the Monarch butterfly. And so I'm just going to get started. I do have my little notepad with notes because I'm super scatterbrained, so if I don't make notes, I will kind of get off topic and it'll be crazy. So I'll go ahead and start. So all insects, they go through what's called a metamorphosis. In the case of moths and butterflies, they have 4 stages, and I will be going over those stages here in a minute. Now, just like other insects or even birds and some reptiles, they start off as an egg. Same as us, we start off as an egg. Now, once the egg hatches, it's called a larva. They're little teeny tiny caterpillar. I mean, they're super tiny. I can see them, but to really get a good look, I have to put my glasses on and I have to get really close. So they're really, really small. And after some time, through their growth stages, they'll form a chrysalis. And the chrysalis stage is known as the pupa stage. Now, the monarch caterpillar chrysalis, they're really, really pretty. They're like a really pretty shade of green with like some specks of gold along one of the sides. They're really, really pretty. Now, once this stage is over and they emerge, they are now an adult butterfly. And watching that process is like, it's like nothing I've ever done before. I've actually brought the butterfly cage that I have with one of the plants in it to the school that I usually work at, and let the science class, one of the science classes, be able to watch one of the butterflies emerge, and they were super excited about it, like more excited than I thought that they would be. For their age, I didn't think, middle school kids are like, whatever, but they really enjoyed it. They thought it was pretty cool. Now, once this stage is over and they emerge, like I said, they're now the butterfly. And this 4-stage process, it takes about a month. Sometimes it does depend on the weather. Like if it can be a little bit colder out, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But just like humans, monarch butterflies, they have hormones. It's these hormones that trigger the changes needed to complete each stage, all 4 stages. And just like many other insects, they have very short lives, and that's why it's so important to help them be removed from the endangered species list. Pollinators are super important, and a lot of people know about that. A lot of kids don't, but that's why I like to try to educate, especially the younger generations, on how important it is to save our pollinators, save the bees. Unfortunately, wasps are pollinators. I really don't care for wasps too much, but we have a lot of wood bees out here, but they're also pollinators as well. I got to watch one of them pollinate some of my green onion yesterday. So it's always, it's always important to express the severity of it, because like people don't realize, if we don't have pollinators, we all die. They're the ones that pollinate the trees, they pollinate the plants, everything that gives us the oxygen that we breathe. So it's super important to try to save them and do as best as we can not to harm them in the process. Now, butterflies are just as important as bees because they too are pollinators, just like I explained. Now, once an adult, they will live between 2 to 6 weeks during the summer months. The monarchs that migrate live all winter, or about 6 to 9 months. And that all depends also on if they're really healthy or not. Now, I'm sure many of you know they have those trucks that come at night and they spray in the ditches for mosquitoes and stuff. Stuff like that can really harm insects such as monarch caterpillars, it will kill them. And honestly, like, to me, you don't know if the caterpillar, feels pain. You don't feel what they feel. You don't think what they think. But to watch them die, it's really sad. It looks like they're in pain, and I really don't like to see that. So for those of you who like being able to do stuff like this, like I do, butterfly conservation or whatever, you can always try to talk to your city and see about getting a sign in your ditch saying do not spray. So hopefully, that will help with the process. Now, I will go over the first stage. Now, in order to continue having these butterflies at a decent population size, they need to be able to find their host plants. Now, monarch butterflies are stubborn. They will only lay their eggs on one type of plant, and their caterpillars will only eat this specific plant. Now, they do eat other things besides that, like if it's absolutely necessary, like butternut squash or cantaloupe or watermelon, whatever. But in order for them to be healthy and to survive, they need this specific plant, and we'll go over that here in just a second. I think I was getting ready to say it. They will only land on milkweed to lay eggs. It is also the only plant that the caterpillars will eat. Now, most of the time, a monarch butterfly will lay a single egg underneath of a single milkweed leaf. Now, every now and then, like we had, I think last year, we had an overlay. These mamas were laying so many eggs. They had multiple eggs per leaves, and they ate everything. Like, everyone was panicking. Everyone was on Facebook trying to ask, hey, does anybody have any milkweed leaves? Or are they like, hey, which nurseries around here will sell milkweed plants, because my caterpillars ate everything and I don't know what to do. So they definitely did a number on us last year. Now, one of these butterflies can lay between 300 to 500 eggs in a 2 to 5 week period. That's a lot. Now, record of eggs laid by a single monarch in captivity is 1,179. Now, prior to fertilization, the eggs will form inside of the female butterfly, including its hard outer shell. Now, the shell is lined with a layer of wax, which keeps the shell from drying out. Now, I think the shells are super cute, and I think every other person that raises monarch butterflies can say the same. They look like little tiny miniature footballs. They're super cute. Now, at the end of the shell, there's an opening called a micropyle. And now it's through these openings that the male monarch butterfly's sperm enters the egg. The raised areas on the shell are called ridges, just like a football. That's why I said it looks just like a football. Now, once the caterpillar is ready to emerge, you'll notice a black spot on the top of its head. The egg stage lasts about 3 to 5 days, not very long at all. And it, like I said, it depends on the temperature. If it's warm, nice and warm outside, they'll come out sooner, sooner rather than later. Now, the egg height is only 1.2 millimeters, and the width is 0.9 millimeters. So they're super tiny. If you're not really looking hard, you may not see it. Now, this is the second stage. The growth stage of all insects with complete metamorphosis is called the larva stage. Now, for this stage of a monarch, they are called caterpillars. They do all of their growing during this stage. All they do is eat and grow. Like I said, like they eat like teenage boys. They eat, they grow, and they poop a lot. Larvae have 3 distinct body parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The head is a pair of short antennae, mouth parts, upper lip, mandibles, lower lip, and 6 pairs of eyes, which is crazy. They're so small you would never be able to tell. The eyes are called the ocelli. Now, unfortunately, they have very, very poor eyesight, which you would think, like, having 6 eyes, they could see really well, but they can't. Their antenna is what helps guide them, and as they're moving around, it's like someone who is blind. They use that as their walking stick. That it helps guide them where they need to go. They might bump into stuff here and there, but then they'll turn around and they'll go in a different direction. Now, the sensory organs, which are called maxillary palps, they help direct their food into their jaws. Caterpillars are able to anchor themselves onto the plants or nearby objects when needed by producing a silk pad from their spinneret. Just like spiders, they can produce silk to be able to attach, themselves, and they don't make like a web, but they use it to attach themselves to plants. So if it's really windy, they're not going to just blow away. Which down here in Louisiana, it has been quite windy lately. Today is a decent day, it's not too bad, but yesterday was a little windy. Let's see. I'm trying to keep up with it. That's why I said I have to take notes because I get off track easily. I get super excited talking about them. So, now usually they do this when pupating. Just like all insects, these caterpillars, have legs. Each thorax segment has a pair of true legs, while other abdominal segments have false legs, or called prolegs. Now, monarch caterpillars have 5 pairs of prolegs. You would think, like, why would they have 5 pairs of false legs? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what's the point? Who knows? I didn't create them, so. Anyways, on the ends of these legs, there are these tiny little hooks that helps them hold on to their silk mat or leaves. Now, the hooks are so small, they don't hurt. You can feel them holding on to you, but it's not like a June beetle. Oh my Lord, they've already coming out. They started coming out last month in March, which is crazy. And another part of this cat that functions as sensory organs are its tentacles. Yes, these caterpillars have tentacles. And how do they breathe? They get oxygen through the holes on the sides of their thorax and abdomen called spiracles. These spiracles are connected to a network of long air tubes called trachea, which carry oxygen throughout the body. Now, during this growth process, they'll start getting too big for their skin. So, just like a snake sheds, they'll shed their skin, which is called molting. Now, most times they will eat the shed skin before continuing to eat from their host plant. Sometimes they don't, but most of the time they will. Now, each stage before and after it molts, it's called instars. There are 5 instar stages. They'll shed their skin 5 times up until they're about 2 inches in length. And you think, like, that's not that big. I wish I had a 5th instar caterpillar to show you guys right now, because they are huge. I mean, they are massive. The larval stage in the monarchs lasts between 9 to 14 days during normal summer weather. Now, before they pupate, before I get to that 3rd stage, during normal summer weather, okay, we are in April now. The weather has been so nice and warm. We had like a little cool front come in last night. So that little cool front, not sure if it really affected them too much. They probably went to sleep for a little while, and but I did notice, I was looking around at some of my plants, they are munching away. I don't think they let that cool front bother them at all. Now, the 3rd stage, before they pupate, the larva spins a silk mat, which is where they will hang upside down by their last pair of prolegs. The silk used to make the pad comes from their spinneret on the bottom of their head. Now, as it hangs upside down, it will shed for the last time, and it stabs the stem into the silk pad. The stem extends from its rear and is called a cremaster. When it is done shedding, you will see the chrysalis, often mistaken as a cocoon. Now, that's one of the things, and I hate to say it, but that's one of the things that irks my nerves. And I guess it's just because not everyone is educated on the difference between caterpillars and, the butterflies and the moths. When a caterpillar, like a monarch caterpillar, goes into chrysalis form, it's a chrysalis. But if it's a caterpillar that's going to turn into a moth, it's called a cocoon. They look totally different. Cocoons are, I've seen them like be pretty big, and there's some cocoons that I've seen that I thought was like dog poop, and it wasn't. It was it was a moth cocoon. But and it also depends on the size, and the shape depends on the actual species of whether it's going to be a butterfly or a moth. But yes, the chrysalis is for a caterpillar that's going to turn into a butterfly. And I'm pointing this way because I will show y'all in a minute if I can. I do have a monarch caterpillar right here. Now inside there's a lot going on, a lot inside of the chrysalis. Now all of the adult organs, including the wings, are developing from tiny clusters of cells that are already present in the larva. Shortly before the butterfly emerges, you'll be able to see the colors of the chrysalis, and it's not of the chrysalis, through the chrysalis, sorry. And it's really cool because that's when you know magic is about to happen, when you can start seeing the colors of their wings through the chrysalis. And that's it kind of almost looks like the outer layer of the chrysalis will almost look like, you know, if you get a sunburn and you peel the skin, it's kind of clear a little bit. That's what it looks like. It's just like it's dried out and it's almost ready. Now, the pigmentation of the scales, they develop at the end of the pupa stage. This third stage lasts between 8 to 15 days under normal summer conditions once again. Now, in the fourth stage, the fourth and final stage, the adult butterfly's primary job is to reproduce, mate, and lay eggs. That's all they do. It's like survival, you know. You don't want your species to die out, so you've got a lot of work to do, and they know that. That's what they're there for. They're pollinators. They may not live for very long, but they do a really big job, a very important job in that process. Now, let's see. Now, they start mating between 3 to 8 days old. The mating process can take up to 16 hours, which when I get to this part, it's funny because my students, you know, of course, talking to middle school kids about the mating process of monarch butterfly, they start giggling and laughing, and they're like, 16 hours? And they're like, I had one student that said they do it for 16 hours. It's, you know, it's a totally different aspect, but they will mate usually like later afternoons all throughout the night, and in the morning they're done. You know, they take that time in the afternoon, and it has to happen, because if they don't mate, they can't produce anything. They'll have, the female will lay eggs that don't have anything that will come from it. So that process is very vital. The females will then immediately begin to lay eggs. These new adults in the summer generations live for about 2 to 5 weeks. Each year, the final generations of the adults merge into late summer and early fall, and they do a very big job. And this job is to migrate to overwintering grounds in central Mexico. And if you were to Google monarch butterflies in central Mexico and look at the pictures and videos, it's absolutely breathtaking. It's just so pretty. It's like you're in heaven. Like it's crazy how pretty it is, and how many there are. And not all monarch butterflies migrate to Mexico. It just depends on the region. You can also Google that as well, the monarch butterfly migration map, and it'll show you. Now, they spend the winters in Mexico clustered in trees until winter conditions allow them to return to their breeding grounds. Now, unfortunately, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago, we didn't have a very good monarch season. A lot of the monarchs who had migrated, I shouldn't say who, but the monarchs that had migrated to Mexico froze to death. They had a really strong winter there. Like, it just got colder than normal, and all you could see is frozen butterflies all over the trees. It was sad. But that's why we keep working hard, because you never know what the weather is going to be like, and we want to make sure that these butterflies have a fighting chance. Now, these adults, they can live up to 9 months. An easy way to tell the difference between a male and a female butterfly is to look at the wing markings. Males will have the thinner black veins and a black spot. one black spot on a specific vein on each wing, on the back of the wing. Now the females, they have whiter veins, and they tend to be darker in color as well. They'll be like a darker orange versus a lighter orange. I lost my spot. Give me a second. Okay, now when it comes to the anatomy of an adult butterfly, they have 3 major parts. As larvae, there are 4 main structures on the adult's head: eyes, antenna, palpi, and proboscis. Now, the eyes are made up of thousands of omatidia. Hopefully I said that right. The 2 antennae and the 2 palpi, which are densely covered in scales. They sense molecules in the air and give them a sense of smell. They're like the hound dogs of butterflies. They suck up nectar and water for nourishment through their tongue, called the proboscis, and when not in use, it curls up. It's like a little curly straw. Now, its thorax is made up of 3 segments, each with a pair of legs. The second and third have a pair of wings attached to them. The legs, which they have 6 of them, end in tarsi, which grip vegetation and flowers. But just like I said with the caterpillars, they have like these little hooks that help them hold on. Monarchs are able to taste sweet liquids through organs on the back of their tarsi. So basically, that's all the information I've come to learn about monarch butterflies, as far as learning how they go from egg to adult butterfly and the mating process. And it's just that life cycle. It goes in circles. Now, I do have a couple of caterpillars right here. Let me see if I can get you a good view of that. It might be kind of hard to see. There's one right there. I would say that would be, I think, the 3rd stage of the caterpillar. And I have one down here. It might be hard to see. I don't know if you can see that little bitty caterpillar. But that caterpillar is about a set 2 stage. So once it gets bigger, that next stage, it's gonna get pretty massive. Now, I will carry my tripod over here in the sunlight. Hopefully y'all will be able to see, but I did notice now, unfortunately, my milkweed that I'm growing, and I don't even know if I mentioned that, milkweed's the only plant that they will eat, and they call it milkweed. It is a weed. But if you tear like one of the stems, or not the stems, the leaves, you'll see like a little milky sap come out, and it is poisonous, so you don't want to touch your face. Definitely wear gloves when you're working with milkweed, unless you just have a habit of washing your hands all the time. But they literally inhaled my stockpile of milkweed that I have growing in pot plants, and thankfully I threw some seeds in my front butterfly garden that are growing. They're still really small. They're not as tall as these, but hopefully that'll help, because with everything going on, I really don't want to have to go to the store to buy anything to feed these suckers. Now, I think I do see a 4th stage. No, this is a 4th stage monarch. Let me see if I can. Sorry, I am so sorry, because this thing right here is just, I have a, try not to hit my plants. I have a number 4 right here. Now, it will get about 2 to 3 times that size once it's done growing. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I have all this right here. I know it looks kind of messy, but they were all so pretty and green before. And they ate a lot. I mean, within a couple of days, it was gone. So hopefully I have enough. And I do have some in the front here, but they're quite small. I don't even know if it's worth showing. I have a bunch. It's just a messy area. I've got some other weeds growing in here that I really want to get rid of. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But we're working on it. spring 2020 is doing a number on me as far as the plants and the caterpillars are concerned. They are definitely eating everything I've offered them, and I love growing them. I mean, you can find milkweed at local nurseries. You can also go on Facebook if you have if you're on Facebook groups and stuff like that for butterflies. You can definitely ask someone, you know, in your local area, or just call around to different nurseries and just ask them if they have any milkweed in stock. Depending on where you live, depends on what type of milkweed. The milkweed that I have is called tropical milkweed. It's got like these red and yellow flowers on it now. Unfortunately, I only have one that is growing flowers, and it's like way out there. It grew on the side of the shed. Now that's another topic about how they got from my garden over here to back there. Now let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I know I look like I'm cross-sighted. I'm looking at it and my camera's right here, but I'm trying to think if there's anything that I missed for you guys. I think that'll be it. I think that'll be today's video. If anyone has any questions, definitely comment. I will be trying to add more milkweed seeds to my front garden to kind of help a little bit. Hopefully by the end of the summer, depending on how many monarchs visit my garden, I'll have food for them to lay their eggs on. I hope. Crossing fingers. But I thank you guys for tuning in, and hopefully any of my students who have watched this, I miss all of you greatly. And if you're going into high school next year, like, I may not see you anymore, so I wish you the best of luck, and I want to see you guys being proactive. Help these butterflies, plant some stuff. If you're local and you know who I am and you want some seeds to grow some milkweed, definitely let me know, because I've got thousands and thousands of seeds in my refrigerator just ready to be planted in the ground. They grow super easy. They deal very well with heat. Now, when it's around 100 degrees and over, they need to be watered like a couple times a day, but not a whole lot. So, but I thank y'all for watching, and I hope that you learned a lot from this video, and I will see you guys soon.